This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, wow. Well, welcome everybody to tonight's extended learning call on post-secondary education opportunities for kiddos that may have an intellectual disability. So I am so happy that the folks from NDCPD are here, and I'm just gonna let you all introduce yourselves, and then Anne, I'm gonna make you a co-host.
Sounds great. I can get started. Sorry, I have a little frog in my throat. My name is Ann Bestie Goldberg, and I work at the NDCPD in Minot at Minot State University, and I am the grant manager for the project that is setting these opportunities up for students with intellectual disability. And so I'll be doing a lot of the presentation today. Lynn?
Your mic is not on.
Jolene, did you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry, Ann, you were cutting out. Sorry. So I'm Jolene Webster. I also work at the North Dakota Center for Disabilities, and I work on the current program that we have to support students to attend college here at Minot State called Asep. And my role on that project is the employment coordinator. So I help the students find campus and community employment as part of our program.
Jody?
I am new to Impact. I started in September, so I am now the new marketing coordinator, helping get knowledge to all these places that want knowledge. And just bear with me because I'm still kind of new. So
Thank you. Tracy?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Olson. I'm with the A-STEP program here at Minot State under NDCPD, and I'm the program director here.
Penny?
Hello, I am Penny Belgard, and I work for Dakota College on the Minot State University campus, and I'm the program director of the newer Aspire program that is on the Botno campus of Dakota College.
And Kate, are you with us yet? Kate Milner?
I don't see her.
Okay. And then is Janice here?
Yep, I'm Janice, and I'm here because I have my son Charlie is enrolled in the A-STEP program at Minot State.
Awesome, thank you. So can someone get the new link to Kate Milner while I get the PowerPoint set up?
yeah, I'll send it to her right now.
Thank you. Okay, can everyone see the screen? See the Impact PowerPoint? Awesome. So we really wanted to thank you all for taking this time with us this evening. We're really excited about the work that's being done in North Dakota to set up programs for people with intellectual disabilities, and then some programs can take people with developmental disabilities as well. And so we have 3 programs in the state right now, and we're working on developing at least one more, maybe more than that. See what happens. Am I cutting out?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. All right. I had a slide here for us to introduce ourselves, but we've got that done. What I would like to do, first of all, is to play this film for you because we do it most often when we are first introducing our programs to people, and because I think it's a pretty powerful film. So let's get started. can you all hear it?
Not yet.
No,
No
You can't?
sound.
no sound?
Mm-mm.
Hmm. Okay, what I'm going to do is continue on with the presentation, and I will get the sound working as someone else is talking, so that then we can go back. We thought if we embedded it, we would just have the sound, but I guess not.
I think, Ann, you have to share your sound. There's a thing you can click on to share the sound.
Now? Oh, right here. Okay, let's see if this works.
I came from a really small town. I loved it a lot. Really taught me a lot about life and life skills. Helped me come out of my shell.
College was great. It set me on the path that I'm on today. It took me to Peace Corps, and now it took me to a new job.
Oh, college was great. I owe my career to it. I even met my wife there.
Who do you think should go to college?
I think everyone should go to college.
I think everybody should go to college.
Anybody that wants to.
What about people with intellectual disabilities?
What?
That's a good question.
I never really thought about that.
I have pretty high expectations for myself, and then there's always the expectations of the professors, and it's the blend between the two that is most important. I've always found a way to do well or do my best in all of my courses, no matter what.
I do know that she belongs in this classroom because she has a lot to offer, and she thinks about the works that we're discussing, and the class accepts her on that level completely.
The people in school see, oh, she has a disability, don't talk to her, she's so different from everybody else. But here, they accept you as who you are, and they say, you're a college student, you're a human being, you're the same thing here.
I think there's so many ways how kids can look at so many challenges for every phase. There's so many ways how people can change.
The University of North Dakota is a great experience for people to relate to college. And they did not ask me if I wanted to go to college. I chose to go to college because I thought that that would be a better path in life for me. It's freedom, basically.
The dream is me going to college and being like a graphic designer or something to do in art. Art is like my passion.
All my family pretty much went to college, and I said, why not me? Even though I have a disability, I can still go. I can go anywhere I want to go.
We're helping these particular students become more productive citizens and more well-rounded citizens of our country. I think it's just really important. We don't have throwaway people.
It's really enriched the people on this campus, and it's just made it a much nicer place to work. It just amazes me how well it's gone and how proud everybody is of it, both internally and externally, and what it's done for these kids' lives.
We are working with a very important part of our population that has traditionally been underserved. A second major reason is because Kennesaw State itself wants to be as inclusive as it possibly can and provide high quality education for anyone who wants to obtain that education. And the third is possibly the more basic, the most basic of the three. It's just simply the right thing to do.
The revolution is kids with disabilities going to college and having the opportunities. And I just really want to stoke those flames and get that fire of that revolution really going, because this is where the revolution begins. It begins now. It begins with us.
All right.
Can I ask you a question?
Oops.
Can you tell me about your college experience?
Sure.
Okay. Can you all hear me talk now?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so
There was,
I have to,
and there was a question in the chat before you get started. Which state is the state that doesn't have a program? Do you
you
know?
know, I don't know. This film is a little older. So what I do know is that there are over 300 programs in the United States right now, and more and more and more coming. But I really don't know what state does not have any programs. I know that the states that surround us have programs. I don't think that the programs in the states that surround us are quite as inclusive as A-STEP is and as the programs that we're building, but there are programs in Montana, in Southern Wyoming, in South Dakota and Minnesota, and now in North Dakota. Okay, I have to see how now to make this go without, okay. All right, so how many of you beforehand had heard of the Impact Consortium? Had people heard of it before? Yes, no?
A lot of heads going no.
Okay, yes. So we're just kind of starting to get the word out in a coordinated manner. That's why we hired Jody to work with us to help get that out. The Impact Consortium is a consortium of schools or a consortium of people whose mission it is to promote quality, inclusive post-secondary education for children with or students with intellectual or developmental disabilities. And we're first starting this in North Dakota. And then as we move along in the years of our grant, we're going to try to expand into the Northern Plains region. Our vision is that all institutions of higher ed or all colleges and universities in North Dakota will be inclusive for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And that they'll have programs that everyone can succeed in and that will let people have meaningful certificates or degrees or badges as they leave, and that will help people leave college work ready. So for competitive integrated employment. So right now in North Dakota, we have 3 programs, like I've said. We have the Aspire program, which is in Botno. We have the REACH program, which is at Bismarck State. And we have the A-STEP program, which many of you have already heard of, and that's at Minot State. And it's a combined program between Minot State and Botno, Dakota College in Botno. So what these programs offer is an inclusive education and personal development opportunity for students with intellectual disabilities or developmental disabilities. And it concentrates on these 5 areas. First, students can take classes, they do take classes with their peers, so regular college classes, and they can do that either for credit, if they're capable of doing it for credit, taking it for credit, or they can do it as an audit. They then also work on employment. So from the moment that they're in these programs, they start with internships across the campuses, working, and then they move out into more community-based employment. And then they work on independent living skills. So all of our programs have residential components so that the students can live in the dorms. And when they live in the dorms, we have people, support systems to help them to be able to live independently and learn how to successfully and safely live independently on a college campus and then thereafter. We also help them to work on self-determination skills. And then they get social skills because they are constantly interacting with their peers on the college campus and off the college campus. We have mentors that support our students. And maybe I had asked Tracy and Penny if you wanted to talk just a little bit more about what happens in the programs, or Jolene, you can pop in too.
Anne, where would you like me to start?
You can just talk a little bit about what happens, you know, with these different areas.
Okay, so as far as academics in A-STEP, we're a program that's been working with inclusive programs we're in our 11th year. And so we really look to find peer mentors. Some we hire, and some are also going into programs at MSU, such as special education, nursing, communication disorders, just a variety of different degree areas. And they too are needing some clinical experience in working with different individuals with different needs. And so they also then will become some paid mentors or some peer mentors for us from a clinical practicum experience. And so in the academic and employment areas, in all areas really, our peer mentors work side by side with our students. Our students' needs are addressed individually, so no student gets the same goals or the same type of support in each area. It's individualized to what the student needs. And so we're just really always working one-on-one, side by side. Our A-STEP staff then are there to guide students and mentors as they're working together and provide some of that enhanced support on campus. Independent living areas, if we do not have mentor support, we are able to work with our DD providers here in town, have provider agencies that can come in and help in the dorm settings with a variety of different independent living tasks, as well as, you know, some other shopping tasks. Always really looking for our students to be able to share and become leaders within themselves, and to find that self-determination to be able to ask for what they need and advocate for themselves. And so all of those are a big component, as well as the social skills, getting them involved in activities on campus, having those social goals. And some of our students need peer mentors in all of these areas, and some of our students need peer mentors in a few of the areas. Our students tend to grow a lot from year 1 to year 3. Our program is a 3-year program. So our goal is always to fade those supports. If we cannot fade them, that's okay. We're happy to continue to provide them, but we're always looking at personal growth and personal development, and for them to be as independent and included in campus activities as they can be. So that's just kind of a brief overview.
Can you talk, Tracy, just a little bit about some of the opportunities, the social opportunities that our students have taken part in?
Our students become very involved in different sporting events. Really, there's anything that's happening on campus, our students are included in. So it's really 100% inclusive environment for our students. So whether it's student activities that are going on, fun activities, bingo, or other types of dances, or, you know, just kind of those on-campus parties, they're welcome to attend. We've had some of our students become involved in cheerleading, in the music department, with whether it was choir or band. We've had some students get involved in different clubs around campus, and so they're able to do and be a part of those. Our staff, our ASEP staff and case advisors really work towards building those partnerships and relationships with our staff on the Minot State campus. I don't, you know, staff are very open and willing to support our students. So that's been a great thing to be a part of and to watch grow. Example, also, we have the Wellness Center here. And so we have students who are in kinesiology classes. And so they need, for their own academic roles, they need to learn how to do wellness advising and those things. So now this spring, they're working side by side with our students in the wellness area and helping them build their own wellness plans and helping them develop workout plans and things like that for the wellness portion of their kind of holistic approach, you know, just their overall well-being. So here on campus. And so it's not uncommon for our students. We have off-campus hockey games. Our students go to those. We can help provide supports to anything that's happening in town. This spring, you know, Special Olympics is happening, and we haven't been facilitating that, but we have students that are involved in that. And so they've been able to take part in that here in town as well, if that's an interest for them. You know, we really try and tailor the interests of all activities to what the student is wanting, and then try to figure out little ways we can stretch that comfort zone a little bit and get them growing in those areas.
Right, so all of our students at programs have person-centered plans so that all of the planning that occurs, all of the classes that they take are geared towards something that the student themselves wants to do and looking towards the future. Jolynn, do you want to talk just a little bit about some of the work experiences that our students have had?
Sure. So as part of our program at Asep and now in the new programs that we're assisting to develop, employment is a really large component because ultimately we want our students to be able to be competitively employed in community integrated employment. And so we really do have opportunities for them to be employed while they're in our program, either on campus or out in the community. And so they also take classes sometimes that have an employment component, whether it be job shadowing or going through a bit of a discovery process to identify career interests. But then all of our students, as part of Asep and also the new programs that are being developed, have employment through our programs as part of their program of study. And so they start out maybe on campus doing things like working in one of our department offices, or they might work in athletics. We have a lot of students who have helped with ticket taking at athletic events, which is a great employment opportunity because it combines just so many really important skills. We have students also working out in the community. We have students doing internships or leadership programs as part of their third year experience with our program. And so all of them have employment opportunities that are paid unless it's possibly an internship through a class or through another type of experience. And so all of them have that support so that they can gain those skills, not only to complete the tasks at the different workplaces, but also to learn the soft skills that will help them to be successful in their jobs. So employment is a really big component of our programs as part of their campus and college experience.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything before we go on?
Yeah, and this is Kate from Bismarck State College. I popped on a little bit ago, but I guess I just wanted to add a couple of comments to what Jolynn just said. I see there were a couple of questions that popped up about, do the students work with VR2 and do they have job coaches? And so I guess, maybe I can speak to that a little bit from my personal experience and perspective. I formerly was a vocational rehabilitation counselor. And so I really honor and respect the role that VR counselors have in this process. I can say that currently at Bismarck State College through the Reach at BSC program, we're working with about 3 students, and 2 of them are really actively involved with their VR counselors, which we really appreciate. I think it's an important partnership. And also, to the question of do they have job coaches, I think what we're trying to do through our program, and I think the other programs in the Impact Consortium are trying to do, is to really partner to make sure that we're providing the students with the best possible opportunity for support with whomever that might be at that particular time in their education. And so sometimes that might be a job coach, and sometimes in our case, we have a couple of students that have volunteer opportunities or on-campus service learning opportunities that it's not quite employment yet, but we know that they're working towards that. And so we are working to support that through peer mentorship on our campus, but we're also in open communication with the VR counselor, knowing that at a future point, this will hopefully lead to an employment opportunity, not only a service learning or a volunteer opportunity, but it will blossom into an employment opportunity. And there will be a transition at some point between peer mentoring on the college campus to probably job coaching in the employment environment. And so we really do want to partner with our VR folks and make sure that we have a smooth transition for the benefit of our students there.
And I would just like to say that we really, our philosophy is that we would like to partner with all agencies that are involved with your students, with your children, because that is going to help the program be very well-rounded and, really set them up for success.
I guess I'd like to just piggyback on what Kate just said also. In addition to job coaches, part of what we do is we also try to fade our job coaches. So when we hire our mentors to be job coaches at our employment sites, I always tell them your job is to work yourself out of a job. And so we're really starting to hope that down the road we can fade those supports as far as formal job coaches so that natural supports begin to kick in. So it might be a coworker, it might be a supervisor. We have a student right now who has had his supports at Cashwise faded, and now he's working independently with spot checks from a job coach who's supporting a brand new student there who just started on Monday. So we're always trying to utilize natural supports because down the road, that's going to help them to be more independent than always having a person. But if they need that job coaching support, we provide that. But ultimately, we really try to have our students work independently with natural supports. And so if they're working in an office on campus, I'm the liaison, but the department person really does become their supervisor and provides those natural supports after we fade our job coach, if that's appropriate.
I see that there's some other questions in the chat, and we appreciate your questions. What we'd like to do is to finish our presentation and then answer questions, if that's agreeable to everyone.
Sure.
Is that okay, Deneen?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. All right, so let's move on here. I have to move the chat.
So if you think about college, and if you had the opportunity to go to college, maybe you could throw out or just put in the chat, what are some reasons that you may have gone to college? I know for me, admittedly, I wanted to get away from my parents. I am an only child, and my parents were pretty overprotective, and I was pretty excited to go away to college. And so there's lots of reasons that people go to college. What are some of those reasons, if you think of your own experience or people that you know, reasons why they may have wanted to attend college?
You might have to unmute yourselves to answer, so.
Right. Is there any reason why people may have gone to college or thought why people might want to go to college? To explore the world.
I can say that, to explore the world. And also I was a late baby. My siblings are way older than me, so I was like an only child. So I left also to try to get some independence.
Meet new people, to explore interests, to hopefully get a better job. Some people go because they want to be like their siblings, and their siblings wanted to go to college. So there's lots of reasons why people go to college, and they're the same for individuals who have intellectual or developmental disabilities. And so we do a lot of work as a consortium with our national technical assistance agency or provider, Think College, and they did a survey of why people with disabilities want to go to college. And they're no different than the reasons that anybody else wants to go to college. But as somebody mentioned, I think Tracy mentioned, the ASTEP program is in its 11th year. And when we started, I was part of that original group. I wasn't in the very first year, but I joined the project quite soon after that. College wasn't even on the radar screen of many families at that point. And so we really have come a long way in thinking about college being possible for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I really believe, and I think all of us on the team believe, that for individuals with disabilities to be successful, it really does start with high expectations for the people that we support. And so as professionals, as families, as people with disabilities themselves, we really need to believe that people with disabilities can be successful in going to college. And so we've talked a little bit about the types of skills that we work on in our programs. We really do use a person-centered planning approach. We follow the adult life domains so that our students can be successful when they transition out of college into their adulthood. And so we really do focus on skills for success. And as part of what we're doing as our consortium, we are also starting to provide training and technical assistance to schools and transition teachers so that they can really begin to build some of those skills that are going to lead to college readiness and college success while young adults are still in school. And so we've really started to do some training with those groups of people, because we know that if students have some of those skills when they're still in high school, they're going to be more prepared to go to college and to be successful. And then we've also really started to target some trainings for families to help them be able to support their young adult while they're still living at home, so that they can also be part of preparing their son or daughter to be successful and to be ready for college. And so we've given some handouts and some resources to Deneen that she'll share with all of you. A lot of these resources come from Think College. It's a tremendous resource if you have an opportunity to look at their website. And so one of the resources that will be shared with you is understanding the difference between high school and college. That's a really important thing for parents and families to understand, that there are differences. And so just being acquainted with some of those differences is going to be really important. And so that's one of the handouts that will be shared with you. There's another one that is really good that talks about how, while students are still in high school, the IEP can be used as a mechanism to support college readiness and success. And so that's another really good resource that we would like you to make sure you take a look at. Again, that one comes from Think College. And then there's just some things that families can do to really support young adults, their sons or daughters, to be ready to go to college. And so I'll just mention a couple of things related to each of those adult life domains. And then I'm going to invite Janice Kern to share a little bit about her experience as they've supported their son, Charlie, to come to ASTEP. And I know Roxanne is on too, and both of these families have done a fantastic job supporting their young adults to be successful in college. And I know it starts really early on, and it's hard, and it's a journey, and it's a process, but they'll just, or Janice, and then if Roxanne wants to share a little bit too, we'll share a little bit about what they did to really make sure that their children were ready to come to college. And so just some things to think about as you are supporting your children who might want to go to college as their post-secondary option. For academics, just encouraging them to use a planner, to use a calendar, to write down due dates or put due dates in their phone using some kind of an app on their phone, just so that they're ready to do that when they go to college. Because when they go to college, those are going to be expectations for academics, that they're aware of those due dates. And so having a way to track when things are due is a really good skill that they can work on already when they're still in school. If they can use any assistive technology while they're in school, that can help them and carry over into their college experience. Start to use accommodations, because if they're taking classes for credit, the content cannot be modified. And so just really getting familiar with accommodations while they're still in school can be really important. Using checklists, using their phones to text, to answer phone calls. We in the A-STEP program rely on the students being able to use their phones all the time so that we know where they are. If they're needing to get to class and they need a reminder from a mentor, or they need to be ready to go to work, we use phones all the time. So just while they're still in school, if they can practice some of those phone skills, those will go a long way when they go to college, if that's what they want to do. For employment, helping with chores around the home is a great way to get them ready for employment in college. And if they have opportunities to have work experience or to take career tech education classes while they're still in high school, those are great ways to help prepare for employment while they're in college. Independent living, helping with laundry, cooking, cleaning their rooms, all of those are great. Grooming and hygiene, just making sure that they have those skills so that they can come to college and be ready to go to class and go to their job sites. Having a fitness routine, having hobbies, engaging in social activities while they're in high school, those are all great things to practice so that they can be prepared to be on a college campus. And then just some of those related skills, working on communication, mobility, getting from point A to point B, being engaged in clubs and activities while they're still in school, in the community, if there are things that they're doing through their church or through volunteer activities, all of those things are going to help them prepare to be ready for college. And then again, just using their phones, we use them all the time. And so just any practice they can have with texting and phone calls and using apps to be independent are going to be really important to help to prepare them to be ready and to be successful in college.
And one thing that we will be doing as a consortium is offering more parent training as we continue to go on, and we will have sessions where we can talk more deeply and we can give more specifics about many of the things like financial aid and preparing your child and the differences between college and the K-12 world. So you can be looking for those, and I'm sure we'll be bugging Janine for some more spots like these. We're going to have Janice come and talk now, and we're so appreciative of her being here. Whoops. Oh, okay, Janice.
That is our son, Charlie. We have 4 boys, and Charlie is our second son. And Charlie was diagnosed with autism when he was about 2, and he still clearly has it. That is his primary disability, along with speech and language are his big struggles. We started preparing Charlie to live as full and as independent a life as possible when he was much, much younger. We did not have college on our radar at all. We were, like Jolynn had mentioned, it was just not even thought of that college would be a possibility. We were really just hoping to get him through high school or even to high school. But we also knew that if he couldn't live independently, he would probably be a roommate, or maybe he would even live with us. And we wanted him to be a desirable roommate. We wanted people to want to live with him. And so that was how we started looking at skills to help him learn. And those turned out to be the skills that helped set him up for success to be in a college interview and be enrolled in A-STEP. So we just really got lucky. We weren't aiming for this, but we were actually preparing for it all along, unbeknownst to us. We heard about A-STEP through another parent. We were at a Special Olympics competition, and he asked us if we knew about it and talked about how great it was and what a great experience his son had. And you learn so much through other parents who are living it. So just talk to a lot of parents. That was what we decided to do, and we learned as much as we could about A-STEP. As Jolynn mentioned, using a phone was key. We kind of think back to the interview when we met everybody involved with A-STEP, and they met Charlie in person, and we were all trying to figure out, is he a good candidate for this program? Kind of like all of our other three boys. Maybe this college isn't a good fit for this boy, and maybe this wasn't going to be a good fit for Charlie. So we went through the interview process to find all that out. And we went through some of the skills that he had to try and determine, is he a good fit, or maybe we should wait a while. And one thing that continually came up was being able to use his phone. He needs to be able to communicate to us. He needs to be able to answer it, text, phone call, and FaceTime. He could do all of that. In the interview, we realized he really couldn't email. But at that time, high school classes were going virtual because of COVID. We just happened to be in the interview process during COVID. And so he got really good at email really fast. So the interview helped us figure out what he wasn't good at. And then we still had time to work on some of those skills too. So he could use a laptop. He could reply to email. Being able to be away from us overnight, that was a big deal. So we couldn't just drop him off at a college campus. We had to know that he could be without us overnight. Well, that started a long time ago when he could stay at his grandparents' house without us for a night. And this wasn't a drop off either. It was, dropping him off late in the evening and getting him early the next morning. So it was as short as possible. Was it easy? No. Was it really horrible? A few times, yes, it was. But we had to start somewhere. And eventually that grew into being able to stay at a camp, at a summer camp for a night, for a week eventually. That was a huge selling point to all of us when we were wondering, is this going to be a good fit or not? That really played a role. Being able to make a purchase at a grocery store or anywhere by himself was a really big skill for him to achieve. So we didn't just throw him in and have him do that on his own. We started to back off little by little. And even if he could only take my debit card out every time I paid for the groceries, and then the next time I would have him put my debit card in and take it out, and so on. And we just kept building to the point of me stepping away a few steps and being really close if he needed me, but also trying to let him do as much of it as possible, wondering, can he do this? Because it's very hard to test these things. So we just kept going by trial and error. Being involved in high school was a really big, I don't know about how, if the word selling point is a good way to put it, but in this interview process, we were learning what is making him a good candidate for this college program. And his involvement in high school was really helpful. One of the things that was also helpful was letting him walk home from school. And we started doing that when he was in junior high, and I would follow very closely with the car, and we figured out a good route that didn't have high school drivers on it. And how could he get from A to B and get all the way home? And then I would go further away and so on. And today he can walk to and from class on his own. He was able to bike around our small town a lot in high school and go to school on his own on his bike. But all of it started with, taking out the garbage in our own kitchen. And even that was really hard. So if you're feeling like this isn't possible, I just want to emphasize that Charlie really was disabled and had to learn a lot of things hand over hand. And it really was worth it. Minot is far away, and I think that has helped us, because it would be so easy to, drive 15 miles away and be there like that. So being far away helped us know that we had to help him be prepared, be able to communicate with us often. We do have family close by, but not like a block away. So that is also helpful, that if we really needed somebody to go check on him or help him do something, we do have people that we can contact. But it was also important that he wouldn't need to rely on these people. He would be able to use what's in place in this program. I also really like that it's inclusive on a college campus. Like, our other kids could go to this campus. It's not exclusive to, so that if you are a typical student, you cannot be around and engaged in students that are enrolled in A-STEP. I like that it is on an existing campus. I have a lot of friends who are like, oh, I used to live in that dorm, you know. I really like that it's already on an existing campus. I like that it's in a bigger town than what we live in, providing a lot more opportunities for employment. And I think that's all that you really wanted me to say. Obviously, I could go on, but I think that's what you wanted me to kind of cover.
Thanks, Janice. Roxanne, do you want to add anything?
Well, I wasn't prepared, so I'm not sure how I look to present, but I have to agree with everything Janice says. Our daughter went from auditing classes to now taking classes for credit, and she'll be close to, well, I shouldn't say close, she's very close to being done and having her associates in the fall, which if you'd asked me 23 years ago when I was pregnant with her and knew that she would live her life with Down syndrome, I would have never thought that she would have gone to college or that college was even possible at that point. I do think that, you know, she has had the opportunity to be really free in her environments and move around. So I do think that that's something that is maybe Janice alluded to, but didn't speak directly to, is, you know, really making sure that your youth or young adult has the opportunity to negotiate their schedule on their own and to navigate familiar places without an instructional aid. So moving from class to class, you know, moving in and out of the lunchroom, other places, even if it's going shopping and, you know, they're going to go look at videos and you're going to go pick up ketchup. So I do think that increasing that independence to make your way around in the world is so important. Having opportunity to use money, as Janice said, is super important. And to really, I think really increase your belief system that this is possible, and not get hung up on reading levels, writing levels, but really thinking about the possibilities. And then I'd also say early employment opportunities, whether it's job shadowing or short-term job opportunities in your school. I think any kind of work is really important.
Thanks, Roxanne. Okay. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about paying for college, because when you go to these experiences, you still have to pay. Your students, your youth have to pay for the college credits and pay to live in the dorms like any student has to do. And so there are different things that are available. I'm not going to go a lot into this right now, because if you're interested in sending your child to one of our programs next year, we will set up a time where we can spend more time with you talking about each one of these. But I just wanted you to know, first of all, that you do have to pay. And second of all, that there are things to help you to pay. And so the state legislature passed a bill last time they were in session that allows for some special education money to be used to pay for students that are in the programs. Medicaid pays sometimes for students. WIOA pays. There is some financial aid. So I know that Bismarck is going to move forward and get to be the status where students, whether they're taking a class for credit or auditing, can apply for federal financial aid, which is a real benefit. And once Bismarck gets that program in place, then we're going to use that experience to get our other programs to do the same thing. And then there are scholarships available. So there are things, oh my. So there are some scholarships. If your child has Down syndrome, Ruby's Rainbow is one of the places where there's scholarships. And I read on their website just the other day that their aim and their mission is to provide financial assistance to every single person with Down syndrome who wants to go to college. And there is a good website that is here, and you will get this PowerPoint hopefully from Deneen after this, but there's a good website here, College Funding for Students with Disabilities. And this gives you a whole list of different kinds of opportunities that there would be for students with all kinds of different types of disabilities. So that's all I'm going to say right now. Unless, Tracy, do you have anything else to say, because you're familiar with this?
I would just add that I know Kate had touched on VR. There sometimes, if your student is involved in VR, it's good to check in with them to see if there's any potential aid or support that can help with tuition and books. I know sometimes there is support for that. The DPI funding that Anne referred to, I know specifically for ASEP, those funding dollars are going to be flagged for our program fee, because we do have an additional program fee that pays for our enhanced supports for our program. And then we're really learning a lot this year about job service. Job service has opportunities to pay for tuition and books for students that we were really kind of unaware of at the beginning of this year. So that's another partner to sort of touch base with in your communities. Both VR and job service, you know, if you have them in your region, they're really good about either holding on to your student and working with them from afar, or transitioning them and transferring them to the Minot office. I think each department does that a little differently. And so I also know that DD supports through the Human Service Center. They haven't directly paid for any tuition or college costs, but they do support the programs that maybe work on independent living. Like for here, it's Community Options, Calix, Easter Seals are the agencies that we typically work with for the independent living and dorm needs that we have here at Minot State. And so those are just some of the other creative possible agencies that can help with some funding.
And I will say that as a consortium, we're really tenaciously looking for funding opportunities for students. We want college to be affordable to every student with disabilities who wants to go to college. So we're continuing to look, and if you all know of something, we would appreciate you to share with us as well.
Okay. And this is Kate from BSC. I thought maybe, can I piggyback off of your comment here?
Certainly.
Perfect. So I think, you know, one of the things that's a benefit for us right now at Bismarck State College with the Reach at BSC program is we really are a new program. We've been supported so well by the Impact Consortium and the guidance that they've provided, but we're really new. And so this very first kind of planning year that we have had, we have not charged a, you know, program fee for students, but we know that that's something that is going to be required in order for our program to be sustainable. So we are looking at doing that. At the same time, I think, we have an opportunity to provide a really affordable education for students in a variety of program areas, whether that's technical program areas or a transfer program area. It's just something that BSC has always just naturally offered. So it's really a good fit for partnering with the TIPSID program and being in the Impact Consortium. So, in my view, I would say, just piggybacking off of what Ann and Tracy would say, like, we're learning as we go as well. And so we know that we're going to need to be, having some program fees in there. We're going to try to keep those as affordable as we can in the spirit of a community college, which is what we have done, from BSC naturally, just for our tuition and fees and things like that anyway. But we know that in order to sustain this program and make it a program that will be available to students for a long period of time into the future, we're going to need to find some ways to make it sustainable. And so that does mean some program fees. So I guess what I would say is, if you have students who are interested, certainly I welcome anybody to get a hold of us and contact us, and we would provide more information. And also, if you have ideas about how we can partner together, a lot of you guys are in different agencies, school settings, things like that, where maybe there has been an unmet need in our particular region in North Dakota, in the Bismarck-Mandan area. We're super excited to be able to provide that opportunity to students here and have the support of the partnership with the Impact Consortium and the Asep program kind of giving us some technical assistance, so we're not on our own with it. It's a new program for sure, but it's also one that we know, in order for it to succeed, it's going to be one of those "it takes a village" opportunities. And so, I just invite you guys to reach out to me, reach out to Ann, reach out to Tracy, if you have either a student who's interested, or if you have a really good idea of how we can make sure that we work together to make sure these programs are sustainable into the future. More than welcome to have a visit.
I have something to add that I don't know if you're not a parent, if you would think of this or not, but something that I asked a lot, or asked a couple of times when we first started looking at ASTEP, was when it was suggested that we contact Voc Rehab or any other Easter Seals or other agencies, I asked, what do I say? What am I asking for? Why am I calling Voc Rehab? We had never used any of these agencies, but our son was going to be, hours away from us, and these other services were available, but I didn't know what to say. I knew he would benefit from them, and I kind of knew what we wanted, but I didn't know how to word it. I didn't know what to ask for. And so going back, I'm just glad that I had another parent telling me, you really need to look into this, because Charlie seems like he would really be a good fit. So we kind of jumped in, and then we backed up and asked questions. And because even through this presentation, there have been moments where I've thought, I don't even know what they're talking about here, because I don't speak in the education lingo. So if it makes you a little bit nervous, I just wanted to say that that's kind of how I felt too, and I didn't have this full understanding. So you don't need to know everything before you apply or ask questions or take a campus tour or any of those things. Just like with any of our other kids, we didn't have to know all of the answers before we stepped foot on campus and learned more about it. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you for that, Janice. I think that's a really important, important reminder to us, and very important to parents. We forget that this is our world, and we lots of times speak in acronyms and things that aren't understandable to other people. So thank you for that. And you are so right. You can set up a campus visit. You can come. We're going to try to have some open houses this year. Come and ask questions. And you can start young. I mean, where I worked last when I was in K-12 education, they started college planning in kindergarten, just starting to talk to kids about it. And so I think it's never too early. So now, just before we're going to end and start with questions, I'm going to have each of the 3 program directors that are here just give like the 1 minute, the 30-second to 1 minute spiel about their program. So Tracy, you can start out.
I did not realize I had that short of a time. I think I've talked a little bit already about our program. You know, we're a program of the university, but of NDCPD. And so we have staff here. We have staff to help address questions, to touch every area of a student need. We have case advisors, academic advisors. We're partnering with the campus at DCB as well as MSU to make sure that all areas of academics and needs and certifications are being completed so that a student can graduate successfully. We're just really wanting to touch every area to make it a holistic experience for our student. We always are excited to see all the growth. We have, you know, we had about 6 new students this year, and by this semester, which is only a few months into the school year, really, they're just growing by leaps and bounds of what they can do and how they're doing and their comfort on campus and the choices that they've made to come here. And so it's just really exciting to see all of that happening and students being excited to be here. And so, you know, we're just happy to take any questions at any time. Give me a call. I mean, I think I've shared a lot already, so I don't know what else to say.
Thanks, Tracy. One thing I did want to say about A-STEP, I know that someone in the chat has asked a little bit about the criteria that we use for students to be enrolled in programs. And I will say that our grant programs, which are the programs at Bismarck State and the one that is solely at Bottineau, those programs do have to take students that do meet the ID criteria, like it's pretty much like what it takes to meet the ID criteria in the K-12 world. They don't have to necessarily, your children don't necessarily have to have the ID label. We just have to be able to make a case that they, you know, that they function somewhere in that area. So, but A-STEP is not part of the grant anymore because it's been around for 11 years. And so A-STEP is a little bit more flexible in the kinds of disabilities that are able to, that they're able to accommodate. So that is one benefit to A-STEP. Okay. Aspire, Penny, do you want to tell a little bit about the Aspire program? Are you still on? She might not be. Okay, well, I will tell just a little bit about the Aspire program. So we decided to open up a program in a small town so that we have 2 programs that are in big towns. We have the A-STEP and the REACH program, but we wanted to have a smaller college because at smaller colleges, it's more family-like. And so we did open this program at Aspire, and it's always going to probably be a smaller program. It's a very good program because Bottineau itself has developed a college certificate that children or students that are in our programs can take, but so can every other student in the college take. And that's called, what is it called, Jolene? Can you remember? Do you remember offhand?
For their program?
Yeah, it's, you know, they have that degree program, that 2-year degree program.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what they call it.
Sorry. If you're interested in it, I think it's really neat. When we met with Think College, it's probably one of the only ones or close to one of the only ones in the nation that have this particular certificate that people can take for credit that all students in the university can take the credit, but it's geared towards the students that we have in our programs. Aspire has room for about 5 students for next year, so they're recruiting right now. They can take up to 5 students, and I think it's a fantastic program. If you live in a small town and you're worried about your child coming to a bigger city, it is a fantastic program. It's a small college, and it's like family. So that's what I can tell you about Aspire. And now, Kate, you can talk for a minute about Reach.
Sure, thanks, Ann. I could not be more excited about being able to bring the Reach at BSC program on board this year. The fall 2021 semester was our first semester with the program. Ann and I learned the other day in our data review training with Think College that a great many programs start with a planning year and don't necessarily even bring any students on board in their very first year at all, which probably was something that was known to others, but it was like a good reminder to me. We did start our fall 2021 year with 3 students in the Reach at BSC program, and I think for us that was the right thing to do. It was maybe a different approach in a way, because we didn't take a complete planning year to get ready for things. And at the same time, I think what we learned from our 3 students that were involved in the program and what they taught us was much more valuable than what we could have gotten off of a website or learning from any other specific program or learning from theory or whatever. All of those things super important, and we've appreciated having the opportunity to tap into those resources. But our most important resource over the last semester plus, I would say, has been our students that have already been involved in the program. And so we're really thankful that we've had a couple of students and families and support systems who have been willing to jump in and go, around with us for year 1. We also, as Aspire are looking to add another, 5 or so students to the fall semester. Our program is similar with Asep in the sense that we're really focused and concentrated on a couple of different key areas of development with the students. So we're looking at, academic support, career development, campus membership, self-determination, and independent living. There are a few key areas that we are really looking to focus on in order to provide a student with the acknowledgement that they've completed the Reach at BSC program and have the opportunity to earn a certificate of achievement with us. Our particular certificate of achievement, if you're interested, you certainly can go out onto the website. It's posted out there. We have some information as far as our program of study. Happy to connect with any of you guys to provide a little bit more information. But we're really concentrated on preparing students for community employment and having a really integrated experience. I think the thing that I'm probably most proud of, not necessarily of our program, but really of our students that have come through the program so far, is that we have had the opportunity to make sure that every student is integrated into every service that we have on our campus. And so we don't have tutoring for Reach at BSC students or advising for Reach at BSC students or counseling for Reach at BSC students. We have BSC students, and our Reach at BSC students are BSC students. So they're integrated into every aspect of services that we have. So our Reach students go to tutoring right alongside any other BSC student that might go to tutoring. They go to a career development session right alongside any other student that might go to a career development session. They're able to access any other service that any other student would be able to access. And our role as staff has really primarily been to make sure that our students know and get some education about how to access those resources, but they're very integrated into this overall community college experience. And so we feel like that's a really good starting point that we want to build on, and that we want to invite other students to come on board with as we continue to grow the program over the next couple of years. So I just am super thankful to have the opportunity to share a little bit about our program with all of you, to be able to participate in the Impact Consortium and have the opportunity to learn from what Asep has done already. Our program is just a little bit different because our campus is a little different. You know, we're BSC as a community college has a little bit different focus. We have other technical programs that maybe aren't offered at other institutions, but we are just as invested as Minot has been, as Asep has been in supporting our students with intellectual disabilities, and thankful for the opportunity to jump on board with this over the next couple of years. So we just invite you guys to reach out to us.
Thank you. I wanted to say before we go on into any questions, all of our programs right now are recruiting. And so if you are just in the least bit interested in knowing more, please contact either me or Tracy or Kate or Penny Bellegarde from Dakota College at Bottineau. So now I'll kind of start in here on some questions. So the one question was, what criteria do our programs use to determine ID or DD? And like I said, we have to be fairly strict with the 2 grant-funded programs. Asep is a little bit different. Tracy, do you want to talk just a little bit about what your criteria looks like?
Well, as far as the ID and DD diagnoses that we look at, we're really communicating a lot with schools in the recruitment phase of working with a student. And so we really look to gather IEP documentation. We make sure that we have releases on files with schools. We're visiting with schools. We're gaining that IEP information. And then if there's other pertinent evaluations that come up or that are referred to in the IEP that we think that we may need to look at. But really just having that, the school has already done all of that already, working with your students all of their K-12 years. And so really it's just about verifying that piece of it with the schools. So it can be a fairly easy process in that sense. And then really that's how we verify the diagnoses. And so that's what we're really looking at. The schools do some evaluations, some IQ testing, where we're looking at those, making sure that they're within the range that we need for a program. Again, A-STEP is a little bit looser. You know, a lot of our developmental disability categories that sometimes have been excluded in the past. Autism is, you know, a big one that sometimes in the past under the grant, they haven't qualified for our program because the ID component wasn't there. And now we can be a little bit more flexible with that and pursue persons interested in post-secondary education that maybe has some of those diagnoses that would have excluded them before.
Thank you. Another question that we had was in terms of admissions, do students currently involved in the programs have a high school diploma or certificates or a combination of each? Tracy, do you want to talk about that a little bit as well?
Yep, we also accept students who are graduated from high school and they're ready for college. They're graduated with their diploma. We also work with students who remain on their IEPs. And so when we have students that are remaining on their IEPs as part of their transition education program, then we're also working with the school partners. We can be invited to attend IEP meetings. When students are with us, the schools are invited to sit in on our meetings just to make sure that we're all working in the same direction and on the same goals. So either or, it works either or for us.
And I think that would be true of all of the programs. So I think the majority of our students would be someone who had the diploma in hand, but it is open to those students that would be doing in their transition years, you know, from like 19 or 18 to 21, it's open to those students as well. So another question we had was, are students able to participate in the sports teams? And what I'll say about that is, I think that at the college level, the sports teams now are very competitive. So if your child can compete at the level to make the team, then certainly they could participate. What I also know is that a lot of our students get involved with the sports teams and do things like be a manager or be the water person. And so that's very common. And usually the sports teams across the campuses are very welcoming to our students. They want our students to be involved. So even if a student couldn't make a team, they can have some sort of involvement in one way or the other. And we've had really good success with that.
And we've had a lot of our students have signed up for some of our intramural sports too. So like flag football was one. We had, you know, several students that just signed up on their own. They wanted to participate and they had a great time with their peers participating in those intramural sports. So that's an option too.
Yep. So if the university or the college has intramural sports, then that is an option. Kate, did you have something to say?
You know, I just think the spirit of like involving students in every aspect of the college life is so important. So, you know, at BSC, we have definitely intramurals that students are invited to participate in if they happen to be a student athlete or not, if they just want to participate in those athletic events. And just finding other ways to involve students in clubs and organizations and making sure that they're a part of any other activity that any other student would get to have the opportunity to be a part of. We're really fortunate and blessed at BSC that we, at the same time as being able to kick off a TIPSID program, a program that has been supported and overseen by Asep and the Impact Consortium, we've also been able to kick off a peer mentoring program. And so the two have really like complemented each other in a really gracious way. I'm not really sure how else to say that. It's just been really fortunate that both programs were able to kick off at the same time because they're really very complementary of each other. And so sometimes we have students that they're like, you know what, I want to be involved in this particular thing, an intramural thing, an athletic event, a club, an organization, whatever the case may be. But they're like, I don't want to do it by myself the first time, and I'm not really sure who to go with. And then we're able to connect them with a peer mentor. And it's just a really beautiful example of, you know, not always having a student feel like they need to be dependent on myself or a staff member on my team, but that they can really develop a natural relationship with another student and get integrated into that college experience. And so, you know, for us, it's been like both programs are new. We're learning as we go. I'm going to be the last person to say we've perfected it just yet, but it's our aspiration to do so over the next couple of years to get a little bit closer to that. But we could not be more thankful for our opportunity to develop not only students in the program, but also to have an opportunity to develop peer mentors who work alongside our students to get them involved in the very things that you guys were just talking about, you know, so that every student has the opportunity to participate in the programs and events and activities that any other student has the opportunity to participate in. I think that's the heart of what we're trying to do.
Yes. So another question was if our programs helped students to find a job in the community where they wanted to reside after the program was done. And I think that we don't do that formally, but I do think we have contacts across the state. We get students hooked up with VR programs in other places, other programs along the way, so that they can have competitive integrative employment. And I'm pretty new on the project, so I don't have a big history about students, but I have seen many that are employed in cities away from their parents, very gainfully employed and living on their own. Jolynn, do you have anything to say about that?
I'll just say that now with students in their third years and now some students, if they're doing certificates, maybe are in a fourth year, we really do work as part of their transition back into wherever they're ending up, their home community or wherever they're going to live afterwards. We really have tried to formalize that relationship with the adult service providers. And so oftentimes at that last meeting, we might invite those folks, or we work closely with those home community, the VR providers, I know that Roxanne's daughter just had her final person-centered planning meeting this spring, and we talked a lot about what her transition back home or wherever she ends up will look like. She's right now working with our career services to finish her resume, so that's updated. She and I need to make a phone call to an early intervention, early childhood center in Bismarck that she's interested in. And so we kind of have formalized that transition process after they're going to be exiting out of A-STEP and moving to wherever their next step in their journey is going to be as far as employment.
Thank you, Jolynn. I'm just scrolling through the questions here, and I have to say thank you, parents, for sharing your experience with the people that have questions as well. So someone has asked if we have thought about expanding to young adults with more severe disabilities. And yes, I would say that yes, we have, you know, the spirit of Think College and the spirit of the federal grants that are out right now is that they want people with ID to have college experiences. And so, you know, I think that there could be people with severe ID that could fit into our programs right now. And I think as we move forward, we're going to try to find, try to develop programs that might specialize in certain areas. And so that's something to keep in mind. So thank you for that, Vicki.
I know that's part of our eligibility criteria and something that we look at a lot. And I think, you know, Janice touched on this a lot when she talked about preparing your student to come to campus. You know, we have a variety of intellectual disabilities that come on campus. It's one of the keys that we look for is, are they able to be independent for periods of time and be safe for themselves and others? And so that is one area that we really look really hard at to make sure that we're not setting up a student to be in an unsafe situation. And so we have peer mentors that work very closely with our students side by side, but they're not 24-hour supports. And so that is a little bit different than maybe some other programs that provide those 24-hour supports for persons with intellectual disabilities. So that is really something that we try and look at through that interview process and the recruitment process is just to see, is what we have to offer the right fit?
I can add something to that, Tracy. Your child being able to do something alone, what does your child do for alone time? When I was in college, I can tell you what I was doing during the, you know, downtime. I don't want my son doing that. I was at the bar or wherever, you know. So there has to be something that that your child can do when there's nothing to do. So our son will go he's been seen on campus going for a walk. He'll go to the wellness center, ride the bike. He's on his phone watching movies. So even though that's kind of the norm is we don't want our kids spending all their time on their phone. Well, Charlie needed to do that a lot when he first started on campus because he could watch a movie and it gave him something to do during that downtime where most kids are socializing. He doesn't. He's not able to do that yet. So to be able to be alone and do something with that time, that would be important too.
All right. So I think that's all of the questions that I can see here. Does anyone else have any other questions they want to pop in with before we end tonight? All right, well, we are recruiting and we would like for you to contact any of us for additional information. We'll set up campus visits. We will talk to you. We will set up trainings in your area if that's what you would like. If you'd like to help us to organize that, we will do whatever it takes to get the word out across the state and to get as many children with ID in college as we can. So thanks for your time.
And there was a comment at the end from Vicky, if you want to address that.
Okay.
It says there's not much opportunity for those with great skills, but need much more support after high school. So just curious if great minds have thought about how to serve these young adults as well.
So I think that, I think that these programs are going to be able to do that. I think A-Step can do that, right now. And I think that as we continue to get more experience, and then as we continue to start to move away from grant funding with these programs, we'll be freer to, accept more and more students. But I think, really A-Step is pretty flexible right now, and I think that they can do a lot of good things with a lot of different kinds of students.
And I would piggyback off of that just a little bit from Bismarck State College as well. I think we're a new program and developing, and we're still, really refining what our eligibility criteria is and what level of need we are able to support at this particular time. But that doesn't prevent any student or any parent or any teacher who's working with another student from reaching out to us and saying, hey, we have a student who's interested. And if it is a good fit right now and we can offer one of our, 4 or 5 spots in the fall to a student, great. If not, we'd still love to hear from you, because maybe it helps inform us in terms of what the need is in our region. And it may help us to build a program accordingly to fit the need that we have. And so don't hesitate. If, I guess that what I would say is, if you think that you're working with a student whose need is too great for our program, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Let's talk. If we have a spot, wonderful. If we don't, maybe it helps inform us a little bit more about the direction that we need to go to grow the program.
Right. And, I would like to say too, because we were talking about severe disabilities here a while ago, and, I am a speech language pathologist. And so I'm thinking about some of the kids that I had that were in wheelchairs and used talkers, augmentative communication. And I think depending on the kind of supports that can be put together for those students, there is opportunities for them to come to these programs and succeed in them. But like Tracy said, the program itself doesn't offer 24-hour services, but sometimes we can put services together to help those students that might need more by using what's out there in the community. So.
One of the things that I like about A-Step and our ability to offer residential support through the dorms is that it's I can't say that every campus is 100% safe, but every student that comes to MSU does well with each other as much as they can, and they certainly do well with our students. And the RAs that oversee their buildings and their supervisors and the housing coordinators, all of them are very supportive of our students. And so we're always looking at opportunities to help a student who's struggling in a certain area that needs that support when we're not available. And so, I always think about it as it's a good way to start building those independent living skills, because it's somewhat independent but also supported, and so kind of becomes, there is somewhat of a safety net here on campus for our students that they get to practice, and so we can help launch them maybe into apartment living in their future with us. There's all of those opportunities. We have a student right now who's living in an apartment on campus and practicing those apartment living skills. That's a little bit different from the dorm setup. And we're going to be doing that again next year with another student. And so, there's just opportunities for that kind of practice and support that can catch some of those students that need an extra support. And again, every student's different, so we would assess those needs. But I think, like Kate said, reach out and talk to us, because maybe there's more that we can help with than we even think just talking about it this evening. So.
Right, even because many of us here are employees of NDCPD, And so come to us with what you think and with what your needs are. And if we can find grants that are available, if we can accommodate you now with what we have through the Impact Consortium, we'll look for other grants so that we can get as many people into, college programs as possible.
This is Jolynn. I guess I would just like to piggyback on what everyone has said, because people with the most significant disabilities are near and dear to my heart. My first teaching was with people with really, really significant disabilities. And so I just think about how far we've come with employment and customized employment for people with the most significant disabilities, and we still have a ways to go. But why can't college be possible for people with the most significant disabilities? And so I know in the past we've had great partnerships with Deneen and with Roxanne and with Vicky, who asked the question. So I think as a consortium, it's something we really need to really look at and learn from you about how we can make it a reality for people with the most significant disabilities, even if our programs right now aren't set up to support those level of needs.
Exactly.
Thanks, Jolynn. Any last minute questions for the ladies that have joined us tonight? I see some heads say no. Brenda, anything? Okay. Anyone else's face that I can't see? Do you have anything? You'll have to take yourself off of mute. Well, I really thank you all for joining us tonight, and I look forward to maybe some future extended learning calls is what we call them. So if there's another time that you want to do a presentation, just let us know. And Janice, I'm glad to see your smiling face too. So thank you again, everybody. So I'll get this out to you. The handouts that that they would like me to share, I'll get those out to you tomorrow. I have to download this and put it on a YouTube thing so that I can upload it to our website as well. So that'll take me a little bit of time, but I hope by tomorrow afternoon I'll be able to get it all out to everybody. So thank you, everybody, for joining tonight, and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Deneen.
You bet.